Good. Good. Morning, let me begin with a simple question. What would your life look like if 90 days from now you had taken massive, focused action toward your biggest dream? Not a year, not a decade, just 90 days. You see, too many people wait. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect version of themselves. But perfection is an illusion. And waiting is the silent killer of dreams. If you can hold a dream in your mind, you already have the seed of it in your hands. The question is, will you plant it now or watch it wither from hesitation? What do you truly want? This question, simple on the surface, is one that most people never answer with clarity. They say they want success, happiness, or financial freedom, but those are vague and undefined. Without clarity, your goals are little more than wishes. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. You might gather materials and start hammering away, but without a clear plan, you'll never create anything that lasts. The same is true for your dreams. You must define exactly what you're trying to build. Clarity gives your mind a target. It's the difference between shooting an arrow into a field and shooting at a bullseye. When you know exactly what you want, your brain begins filtering out distractions and zeroing in on the opportunities that align with your vision. This isn't just motivational talk. There's neuroscience behind it. The reticular activating system, RAS, a network of neurons in your brain, acts like a filter. When you program it with a clear goal, it starts scanning your environment to find information and resources that help you move closer to that goal. If your goal is vague, the RAS has nothing to focus on. When you set a clear intention, your behavior naturally starts to align with it. For example, if you say, I want to get in shape, you might occasionally hit the gym. But if you say, I will lose 15 pounds in 90 days by exercising 5 times a week and tracking my meals daily, suddenly you have a roadmap. Every day your actions either move you toward or away from that clear, measurable goal. You can assess progress. You can make adjustments. You can feel momentum building. Many people avoid clarity because it creates pressure. If you define exactly what you want, it means you can fail. It exposes you, but that's also what gives it power. Ambiguity may feel safe, but it's a trap. Clarity forces you to confront whether your daily actions match your aspirations. It requires honesty. It demands focus. It transforms dreams into decisions. Your dream should be so specific that someone else could read it and know exactly what you're trying to achieve. I want to be rich is not a goal, it's a wish. I will save $25,000, 0 cents in the next 90 days by increasing my freelance hours, reducing expenses, and launching a digital product is a plan. That kind of clarity not only motivates you, it magnetizes you. It gives you a reason to say no to distractions. It gives your day structure and purpose. It also sets up your subconscious to work for you instead of against you. Once you know exactly what you want, you stop being passive. You stop waiting for things to happen and start making them happen. You know what to say yes to and what to walk away from. The world becomes a lot less confusing because your mind has a filter. Does this move me closer to my goal or not? Clarity simplifies decisions. It builds momentum. It creates a sense of urgency. It lights a fire under your intentions and starts the clock ticking. You don't need permission to pursue what sets your soul on fire. Yet, most people act like they do. They wait for someone to validate their ideas, to approve their timing, to tell them it's okay to start. They wait for their family to understand, their friends to support them, or the world to applaud them before they take a single step. But the truth is this: no one is coming to hand you a permission slip to chase your dream. That permission has to come from you. The idea that someone else needs to approve your vision is a deeply ingrained but false belief. From childhood, we're conditioned to seek validation from teachers, parents, employers, society. We're taught to raise our hand, to ask for approval, to wait our turn. So when we grow older and start dreaming of something bigger, something unconventional, that conditioning kicks in. We second guess ourselves. We hold back. We shrink, not because the dream isn't real, but because we think we're not allowed to fully go after it until someone else says we can. But dreams are not about permission. They're about decision. No one else sees your vision the way you do. No one else feels the fire inside you the way you do. And because of that, no one else is qualified to authorize your path. That power belongs solely to you. If you give it away, you're not just delaying your dream, you're surrendering it. Every time you hesitate to act because you're waiting for someone else to believe in you, you're choosing their doubts over your desire. There will always be people who don't get it. That's not a reason to stop. It's a sign you're doing something bold. If everyone understood your dream from the beginning, it wouldn't be a dream, it would be a common path. The most extraordinary goals often sound unrealistic to average minds, and that's okay. You're not building your life for average understanding. You're building it from inner conviction. Think about this. Some of the most influential people in the world were told their ideas would never work. They were laughed at, doubted, rejected, but they didn't wait for permission. They acted. They trusted themselves. They started before they were ready and long before anyone else believed they could succeed. The world only followed once their results became impossible to ignore. That's the order of progress. Belief, action, and then recognition, not the other way around. You must stop outsourcing your confidence. The moment you decide your dream is valid, not because others say so, but because you feel it deeply, you reclaim your power. You're not here to live a life scripted by someone else. You're here to write your own. And the first line of that script begins the moment you choose to give yourself full authority to begin. Waiting for external validation is a form of self-abandonment. It tells your subconscious that other people's opinions matter more than your own truth. Over time, this erodes your belief in yourself. You hesitate, you stall, you lose momentum, and eventually you forget why you started in the first place. The cure isn't approval, it's action. It's deciding that your vision is enough reason to move forward, regardless of who claps for you or who doubts you. Belief is the foundation of every great achievement. Before anything exists in the physical world, it first exists in the mind. Every invention, every movement, every breakthrough began as an idea carried by someone who believed in it long before the rest of the world caught up. Belief is not just positive thinking. It's a conviction so strong that it shapes your behavior, your decisions, and your destiny. It becomes the silent engine that powers your progress through resistance, fear, and failure. When you truly believe in your dream, you don't need constant motivation. You become self-driven. Belief creates energy, focus, and resilience. It becomes a filter for every choice you make. You stop wondering whether you're capable and start asking how you'll make it happen. The how always follows the what when the belief is solid. But belief isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And it starts by choosing to trust yourself, even in the absence of proof. The early stages of any dream are filled with doubt. That's natural. It's part of stepping into the unknown. But belief doesn't require perfect conditions. It requires a decision. You choose to believe before the evidence appears. You choose to see possibility instead of limitation. You choose to act as if the outcome is inevitable, even when you don't feel fully ready. This kind of belief is a muscle, and like any muscle, it strengthens with use. The more you choose it, the easier it becomes to hold on to. There's a powerful feedback loop that happens when belief meets action. When you act on what you believe, even in small ways, you create results. Those results then reinforce your belief. Suddenly, the dream that once seemed distant starts to feel within reach. But the cycle begins with belief, not evidence. Without it, you won't take the first steps. And without those steps, there's no progress to reinforce your confidence. This is why so many people stay stuck. They're waiting for proof before they commit, not realizing that commitment is what creates the proof. Belief also has a magnetic quality. When you speak and act with conviction, people notice. You attract support, opportunities, and resources. Confidence is contagious. When you're certain about where you're going, others are more likely to follow, to invest, to open doors. But when you're hesitant, the world hesitates with you. The energy you project is a signal. Belief sends a strong one. It tells the world, I'm serious about this, and the world responds in kind. Taking massive, imperfect action is the most direct path between a dream and its realization. So many people stay stuck not because they lack talent, ideas, or resources, but because they're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of themselves. That wait can stretch for months, years, or even a lifetime. The truth is that progress doesn't begin when you're ready. It begins the moment you start moving, even if your steps are messy and uncertain. Action builds clarity. People often think they need clarity before they act, but in reality, it's the other way around. You learn by doing. You refine your vision by testing, adjusting, and evolving. Every step you take, even if it's not perfect, gives you feedback. It shows you what works and what doesn't. It reveals your strengths and weaknesses. It opens doors you couldn't see when you were standing still. The first version of anything you build will be rough, but that's what makes it real. You can't edit a blank page, and you can't improve something that doesn't exist. Massive action doesn't mean working non-stop without direction. It means choosing bold, meaningful steps that push you beyond your comfort zone. It means making the call you've been avoiding, sharing the idea you've been sitting on, launching the project even if it's not flawless. It's about doing things that make you feel exposed and vulnerable, because that's where real growth lives. Safe actions feel productive, but rarely lead to transformation. Real breakthroughs come from taking risks, facing resistance, and pushing through fear. Imperfect action is powerful because it disrupts the habit of overthinking. Overthinking is the enemy of progress. It disguises itself as preparation, but it's often just fear in a clever costume. When you take action, even messy, unpolished action, you break the cycle of doubt. You give yourself momentum, and momentum is everything. Once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. Energy attracts energy, and suddenly one small step leads to another, then another, until you've built something substantial. There's also a deep psychological shift that happens when you start acting on your dreams. You begin to prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who follows through. Every action is a vote for the identity you're trying to step into. If you want to become a creator, start creating. If you want to become a leader, start leading. Don't wait for someone to hand you a title. Act like the person you're becoming, and the world will begin to respond accordingly. In a 90-day window, you don't have time to hesitate. You need urgency. You need to flood the process with effort. You don't have to get it all right. You just have to move. Because while others are waiting, planning, and perfecting, you're out there building. And in that process, you're learning, growing, and becoming more capable with each step. Perfection is one of the most seductive lies we tell ourselves. It whispers that we can't begin until everything is just right, that our idea must be flawless, our timing impeccable, our skills fully developed. It disguises itself as high standards, but in truth, perfection is often a mask for fear. It paralyzes action and delays progress under the illusion of preparation. While you're fine-tuning your plan for the 100th time, someone else with half your talent but double your courage is already out there gaining ground. The pursuit of perfection is not only exhausting, it's counterproductive. There is no such thing as a perfect first attempt. Every master was once a beginner. Every masterpiece had a messy draft. Trying to get everything right before you start is like trying to learn to swim without getting wet. You only improve by doing. Real growth happens in the chaos, the failures, the recalibrations. Waiting for perfection before you move is like waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before you leave the house. You'll never get anywhere. Progress doesn't come from perfect planning, it comes from consistent motion. When you act, you create momentum. That momentum teaches you what you couldn't learn from the sidelines. You discover where you need to grow. You get feedback from the real world instead of theorizing in your head. And the beauty is, each imperfect step makes the next one a little easier, a little more informed, a little more effective. But it all starts with moving before you feel ready. Many people use perfection as a safety net to avoid judgment. They don't want to be seen struggling, failing, or releasing something that's not fully polished. But imperfection is human. It's relatable. It's authentic. People don't connect with flawless. They connect with real. They connect with those who are willing to take risks, to be vulnerable, to learn in public. You earn respect not by being perfect, but by being brave enough to show up and improve in front of others. There is also a hidden cost to perfectionism. It steals your time. While you're stuck polishing every detail, you're not building, creating, or sharing. The world doesn't benefit from your ideas if they stay trapped in your head. Execution will always beat potential. The person who launches an imperfect version and learns from the results will outperform the one who endlessly prepares without ever releasing. Done is better than perfect because done can be improved. Perfect can only be imagined. Perfectionism also limits innovation. When you're obsessed with getting everything right, you avoid taking creative risks. You color inside the lines. You play small to avoid mistakes. But breakthroughs come from bold moves, from trying something untested, from experimenting, even when the outcome is uncertain. Some of the most successful products, ideas, and movements were born out of messy beginnings. The process was refined over time, not from the start. Waiting until it's perfect often means it never sees the light of day. Your mind is your most powerful asset, but also your most vulnerable. What you feed it, what you expose it to, and what you allow to influence it will either strengthen your pursuit or sabotage it. Guarding your mind means taking full responsibility for the thoughts you entertain and the environment you immerse yourself in. In a world that bombards you with doubt, fear, negativity, and distractions, protecting your mindset is not optional. It's essential for anyone serious about achieving a dream in a limited time frame. Your external environment shapes your internal world more than you realize. The conversations you have, the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, these all act like either fuel or poison for your belief system. If you're constantly surrounded by people who play small, who settle, who complain, and who view ambition as a risk instead of a responsibility, it becomes harder to stay aligned with your vision. Their fears begin to sound like logic. Their limitations start to echo in your own thoughts. This is why proximity matters. Who you listen to shapes who you become. Guarding your mind means becoming intentional about your input. It means curating what you watch, read, and listen to. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media filled with comparison, gossip, and fear-based narratives, choose inputs that uplift, educate, and empower you. Fill your space with voices that challenge you to grow, with stories that remind you of what's possible, with mentors, whether in person or virtual, who have walked the path you aspire to travel. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes what you normalize. Normalize greatness. Normalize discipline. Normalize bold, decisive action. Negative thoughts are inevitable, but being controlled by them is a choice. Part of guarding your mind is learning how to challenge those thoughts instead of automatically believing them. When fear says you're not ready, question it. When doubt tells you you're not good enough, examine the evidence. The mind is a powerful storyteller, and if left unchecked, it will tell you stories that keep you safe but small. Rewriting those stories starts with awareness. You can't control every thought that pops into your head, but you can control which ones you entertain, repeat, and reinforce. One of the most effective ways to guard your mind is to build rituals that fortify it daily. Whether it's morning journaling, affirmations, meditation, or intentional silence, these practices create space between stimulus and reaction. They help you reconnect with your purpose and recalibrate your focus. In a 90-day sprint toward a dream, these moments of stillness and clarity become vital. They allow you to drown out the noise and hear your own voice clearly. The people you allow close to you have a direct influence on the quality of your mindset. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your dreams. Set boundaries. Limit exposure to chronic complainers, skeptics, and those who dismiss your goals. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to protect the energy you allow into your space. Not everyone will understand your mission, and your job is not to convince them, it's to stay true to it. Reflecting and refocusing weekly is a discipline that turns intention into lasting transformation. In the pursuit of a 90-day dream, time moves quickly, and without regular checkpoints, it's easy to drift off course. Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they don't pause long enough to evaluate whether their actions are truly aligned with their goals. And you make space each week to reflect on what's working, what's not, and what needs to change. You reclaim control over your direction and your results. Reflection isn't about dwelling on mistakes or indulging in guilt. It's about collecting data from your own behavior. It's a personal performance review where you analyze the week, not from a place of judgment, but from curiosity. What did you accomplish? Where did you fall short? What distractions pulled you off track? What strategies gave you momentum? These questions reveal patterns, and those patterns hold the key to growth. When you become a student of your own process, you accelerate your progress by cutting what doesn't work and doubling down on what does. Without reflection, small problems compound into major setbacks. One missed deadline becomes two. One skipped workout becomes a week of lost momentum. One excuse becomes a habit. But when you reflect weekly, you catch these slips early. You course correct before the damage spreads. It's like steering a ship. A small turn can make a massive difference in where you end up, but only if you notice soon enough to make the adjustment. Weekly reflection is your opportunity to take the wheel again before the drift becomes a detour. Refocusing is the second half of the process, and it's just as critical. After you reflect, you must decide how to adjust your strategy moving forward. Dreams are not achieved by rigid plans, but by flexible persistence. You must be willing to tweak your methods without abandoning your mission. Maybe you thought a certain approach would work, but it didn't. Maybe your schedule looked great on paper, but collapsed under pressure. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're learning, evolving, and getting sharper. When you refocus, you reset your attention on what matters most. Distractions are everywhere, and without intentional focus, even a high achiever can get lost in busy work. Refocusing means stripping away what's unnecessary and returning to the core of your vision. What are the top 3 things that must happen this week to move you closer to your dream? What actions will give you the highest return on energy? By clarifying your priorities weekly, you move with precision instead of overwhelm. This weekly rhythm of reflection and refocusing creates momentum that compounds. It transforms time into a tool instead of a trap. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start operating with clarity and control. Each week becomes a mini milestone, a new opportunity to improve, adapt, and push forward with greater alignment. This process also boosts your confidence. When you see progress, no matter how small, you begin to trust yourself more. You develop a track record of follow-through, and that fuels even more action. You are the architect of your future, and what you build in 90 days can redefine what you believe is possible. Too often people think transformation takes years, that dramatic change is only for those with special resources, connections, or perfect timing. But the truth is, most breakthroughs happen in short, focused windows. bursts of intentional effort that create irreversible momentum. 90 days is not just a deadline, it's a container for intensity, clarity, and commitment. When you fully show up for a concentrated period of time, you accelerate growth in ways that months of passive effort never could. Believing in the power of a short-term sprint begins with accepting that your habits, mindset, and environment are malleable. You are not fixed. You are not stuck. Every day within those 90 days offers a chance to rewrite the script, to let go of what's no longer serving you, and to adopt what moves you forward. You begin to realize that change isn't about waiting for the right moment. It's about choosing the right level of discipline and direction. The future is not a mystery waiting to be discovered. It's a masterpiece waiting to be created by someone who dares to take ownership of it. Creating your future doesn't mean predicting every outcome. It means becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever outcome arises. That shift begins when you stop seeing your dream as something external to chase and start seeing it as something internal to express. When you connect your goals to who you want to become, not just what you want to have, you begin to act from identity, not impulse. You stop reacting to life and start responding from vision. That's the power of focused intention. It transforms not just what you do, but how you see yourself. In a 90-day sprint, time becomes your ally. It forces you to eliminate the unnecessary, to say no to distractions, and to operate with urgency. You no longer have the luxury to delay, to overthink, or to operate casually. Every day matters. Every choice compounds. And with that awareness, you begin to live deliberately. You wake up with purpose. You plan with clarity. You execute with intensity. That kind of living doesn't just produce results, it reshapes your self-image. You begin to identify as someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone who turns intention into reality. The act of creating your future also means accepting full responsibility for your results. You stop blaming circumstances, other people, or past mistakes. You realize that the next 90 days are not controlled by your history. They're shaped by your commitment. That level of ownership is both empowering and confronting. It demands that you let go of excuses, that you rise above distractions, that you become fiercely loyal to the dream that's calling you. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, because nothing changes until you do. Each day you show up with intention, you're laying a brick in the foundation of a life that aligns with your highest vision. The future doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design, and the blueprint is in your hands every single day you choose to act.